Hi, I'm Arthur. You ever see one of those, iceberg memes where the deeper it goes, it just gets more complicated and obscure? I feel like the layperson's idea of the Imperium of mankind going to war is like that, where they see the Space Marines fighting all the time and think, huh, that's probably how they've conquered the majority of the universe, huh? To which I have to look at you with my arms crossed in disappointment saying, you have no idea how actually wrong you are. For every one Space Marine, there is probably 1 trillion guardsmen. These guardsmen are here to kick ass, kill the enemies of mankind, and blast Sabaton as loud as they can from their tiny tanks as possible while riding into certain doom. The Imperial Guard compel me. For those who don't know, the Imperial Guard are us. The unwashed masses, the trained soldiers who have seen very little in the ways of augmentation. They are in fact the most common soldier and the backbone of the entire military force of the Imperium of mankind. I'm not 100% certain that if all the Space Marines secede and decide to attack the Imperium all at once, they would win. Sure, a Space Marine could rip an entire army in half with enough planning, but with enough bodies and weight of fire, a group of humans could take down any threat no matter how big. Your standard guardsman is likely to be at the age of conscription on the planet, let's say 19. They haven't received much training, they have a standard issue las gun, and are drilled to follow orders perfectly. That is a fucking drop in the bucket compared to any other threat in the universe. An Eldar with a shuriken launcher could rip them to pieces easily. An orc boy? Hell, an orc fucking goblin could probably have an easy time killing a normal person. Don't even get me started on the Tyranids. I want you to know that in most military encounters, there isn't just a single drop in that bucket. There's a goddamn torrent of unyielding screaming men with las guns. And while I have your attention, I just want to dispel the myth that a las gun is basically a flashlight. It's only weak in comparison to the standard Space Marine bolt gun, which, by the way, is a rocket-propelled explosive yield diamond-tipped fuck you wrapped in a metal package. For perspective, that explosive fully auto machine gun is a strength 4 weapon on the tabletop. The las gun is only 1 pip of strength lower at strength 3. In lore, it's better than most mass-produced firearms we have right now in our current era. It is dangerously effective at shredding through most body armor and meaty bits. It's just unfortunate the scale of 40k basically means that it's going to be doing shit for dick against most all modern Xenos races. But, counterpoint, you may be within range to melee the last remaining remnants of a small platoon of guardsmen, but you are also in range for an ICBM fired roughly 3 kilometers away that the guardsmen you are attacking just phoned in to fire on their position. Get fucked, you silly, silly green man. So to describe the guardsmen is pretty easy. They combine a lot of ideas that you don't need to be a super genius to understand. Basically, they are the military in space. They are sent in for the smallest incursions to the greatest, grandest wars. There are tithes in most sections of the universe dedicated to sending a certain percentage of able-bodied men to the local Imperial Guard regiment, local meaning a few planets away. These bastion worlds are where the majority of the Guard are trained and learn how to fight. The funniest part about the Guardsmen is that there are so many different flavors of them that you are spoiled for choice. Want a traditional military force of disciplined kind of mutants? The Cadians got your back. Want a regiment of literally nothing but Rambos? The Catachan Jungle Fighters, which, side note, they have a casual ability which allows them to basically be as physically strong as a Space Marine on the tabletop. Okay. Want gas masks and a rich history of many different novels about your shitty planet? I mean, you could say Kriegsmen, but what I mean is the Steel Legion of Armageddon. I'm still not over how fucking awesome Hell's Reach was. So the Steel Legion are just cool to me. They often fight alongside small regiments of Space Marines, which makes them pretty much invincible in most cases. Which is a little funny, considering I just brought up Hell's Reach, and if you know the casualties at the end of that book, yeah. They have a rich history of combat across the entire setting, so this isn't like covering the Space Marine chapters. I can't really give you a brief history of the Guard because throughout the universe, they have their own histories. Like the Cadians, and the shattering of their planets, the Steel Legion, and the defense of Armageddon, which used to be Ulanor, which, if you read the Horus Heresy, is a very significant planet, and also is often filled with orcs. The Maccabian Janissari, and their obsession with repaying a debt they feel they owe. The fucking Vestroyan Firstborn, and the fact they have metal-plated Cossack armor. It's just all so fucking complicated, but so dense to go over. The toys they have in terms of combat gear is just so insane as well. From the Chimera transport to the biggest, the scariest, the bestest, the fucking Baneblade. A tank so big that it probably takes up an entire city block. It's Killdozer meets Twisted Metal with how stupidly fucking strong and overgunned it is. That's the fun part about the Guard, where if you run them as an army, you can occupy both niches of impressive armies. When you play 40k, or any wargame, your Unga Bunga brain goes bananas naturally when you see an army that is either filled with big things or hundreds of small things. The regimented look of hundreds of Cadian shock troopers lined up on a board, fully painted about to fire thousands of shots in one turn, makes the synapses in my brain light up like a Christmas tree. It is full-ass neuron activation in its most extreme capacity, but on the other hand, you can run an entire tank gun line that has the ability to just hammer away at anything through bulk fire. Even still, in melee, you have some good options. The Attilan Rough Riders give you some lance and cavalry charge abilities, which, by the way, it's not just lance and cavalry, it's lance with an explosive grenade tip at the end of it. You have Ogrins and Bulgrins, which can just fucking obliterate most things in melee. Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention. The military of the Imperium has a certain percentage of not human they can add. Mutants that are a stable genetic composition that were created a while ago, like the Ogrins, which are basically humans who grew up on high-gravity planets. They are not that smart, but also they are built fucking strong. These people are as strong as small dinosaurs, and they just give them clubs. Fun fact, you can be conscripted as an Ogrin to be into the military if you know how to do two things: tie your shoes, and spell your name out without any major errors or help. If you can do that, congratulations, you're part of the Guard. Aside from Ogrins and Bulgrins, that have less representation, like the Ratlings, literally just halflings with sniper rifles. There are others in lore, but they don't have minis, so I don't care. The vibes and aesthetics of the Imperial Guard are fucking fantastic, and I would suggest them to anyone who wanted to try something a bit more expensive, because it is one of the most expensive armies to play. And I'll put that into perspective. So, when you play this game, you need miniatures. I know, surprising. You need to fill out certain requirements. So, say you want to play a game with someone, you would agree to a point limit. This point limit can be 2,000, which is the standard unit that a lot of people use. Each miniature costs a certain number of points to put it into your list. A standard Space Marine ranges between about 13 and 21 points, depending on what kind of specialty Space Marine you're putting in. A Guardsman is like 4 to 10 points at most, depending on what they are. And a single box of 10 Guardsmen, it's like $60. So if you do the math, that's a lot of guys that you gotta buy in order to justifiably run this. So, through sheer volume of miniatures you have to purchase to play, it can be a bit expensive. So, do you want to feel like you are going to drown your opponent in a sea of corpses and then grind what's left to dust using small tanks? Do you want to smash things to pieces with nothing but Ogrins? Do you want to have literal ICBMs to fire on the board with infinite range? Play the Guardsmen. They're such a fun faction to play simply on the principle that you can play them so many different ways and it's still valid, at least on a casual sense. Regardless of what my opinion is, what do you think of the Guardsmen, and specifically, what is your favorite regiment? I know there are many, so I just want to know. Also, remember to like and subscribe because it does help with the channel. And a special thanks to my channel members. I will not recommend you for summary execution from the local commissars. Until next time, remember, it doesn't matter how far away you place your miniature. You're always within range of a death strike missile.